I sent you the link, Tracy.
Okay. Yeah, let me go test it, make sure it is working.
I'm sorry, Tracy, you're really muffled. What did you say?
I said I posted it. Let me go test it, make sure it's working.
Okay.
All right, looks like we're good to go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Olivia, when you want, you can bring the guests in now.
I'm going to bring her in right now. I got Jennifer here. Ingrid, you do have a quorum. I believe you have 6 people now.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you can begin, Miss Ingrid.
All right. Welcome, everybody. A meeting of the Louisiana State Board of Medical Examiners Occupational Therapy Advisory Committee pursuant to lawful notice is duly convened and called to order at 10:04 a.m. Friday, March 8th, 2024 via Zoom virtual video. Please note any comments by the public are welcome and can be emailed to publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov. Dr. Van, please confirm that you have verified the identity of all tele and video conference participants.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Is the sound clear and audible to the public and those on the tele and video conference?
Yes.
All additions to the executive or public agenda must be made presently as we will no longer make additions to the agenda after the close of the public session. I'm now going to review the mission. The mission of the Occupational Therapy Advisory Committee is ultimately to protect the public, i.e. the consumers of occupational therapy, by regulating competent practice and upholding the standards set forth by the governing rules and regulations. Members present are as follows: Ingrid Frank, Glenn Wallace, Kathleen Norcross, Kim Solari, Kelly Brandon, Amy, can we confirm that we have a quorum?
We do.
Also present at the meeting are Dr. Vincent Collada, Patricia Wilton, I think.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Lauren Sutton, Olivia Palong, Tracy Morrow. Let me see.
Phyllis Johnson.
Miss Phyllis Johnson. Thank you.
You also have Jennifer here and then Marie that's coming in right now as well.
Okay, right. We also have 2 guests. Thank you, Olivia. Jennifer Lucky, president of the Louisiana Occupational Therapy Association, and Marie McLaughlin, a practicing occupational therapist. Before we move on, I would like to propose moving the new business item of safety concerns with dry needling to be the first item on the agenda after we approve the minutes from last month. Because the 2 guests that we have with us today are here for that issue, and they need to get back to work. can I get a motion to move the dry needling item up to after the minutes are approved?
A motion to approve.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Kelly?
That was Kelly. Thank you. And can I get a second?
I second Kathleen.
Sorry, Kathleen, I think did the initial and I did the second. But
Any public comments?
No, ma'am, there are no public comments at this time.
All in favor of moving that agenda item up, please say aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? All right, well, after we approve the minutes then, we'll move on to that agenda item. I guess, Olivia, can we share the screen with the minutes from our last meeting?
Dr. Claudia, you can share, or did you want me to?
Oh, I guess I can.
You can share. Anyone can share.
Yeah, anyone can share. I just didn't probably have it pulled up like I should.
Okay. If you'd like, just give me a moment. I can share it for you.
I can find it too. Let me do that. Oh, I have got it right here. Hold on just a second, y'all. Hope I'm sharing it with the right thing. Okay.
It's up and running already, Miss Ingrid, and can everybody see it?
Can everybody see the
Yes.
meeting agenda? Okay, great. Then I'm just gonna scroll down to the meeting minutes from last month. Let's see, let me keep scrolling down to the minutes, actual minutes. Or are they here? Did I pass them right up?
They're on the screen, Ingrid. I don't think yours are sharing. Dr. Van's sharing.
Okay, let me stop sharing. I'm gonna stop sharing.
I was
Let's
like, I
see.
can see Dr.
There we
Claudia's.
go. All right, now Dr. Van's got it up.
Mhm.
Okay, so here's our minutes from February. I shared the letter that drafted to Ms. Payton. Everybody approved that. Then we brought up Kelly Brandon brought up some initial licensing issues that some new graduates have been experiencing. We talked about the website and whether diplomas were required. We also talked about the Code to Bridge program, and we learned from Dr. Van why the background check has to be reinstated. And then, let's see, you can keep going, Dr. Van. That was all about that. And then we set our next meeting. That was, so any edits or issues with the minutes from anybody? If not, then I will get a motion to approve the minutes from the February meeting.
I'll motion to approve the minutes from the meeting, the last meeting, and this is Amy.
Thank you. And can I get a second?
We'll second.
All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I mean, any public comment?
No, ma'am, there is no public.
Okay,
comment.
any opposed? All right, the minutes have been approved. So Dr. Van, then our first item is something that you added to the agenda. So I'm going to turn it over to you regarding the issue of dry needling safety concerns.
We're waiting to hear the public comment. This discussion is now available, and I'll reserve comment till after we hear what the public comment is. We need to have the public commenters begin their presentation on the issue of
To tell you the truth, okay, so the public comment was from Marie. I really wasn't aware of what the public comment was, so that's Marie, I'm gonna turn it over to you then.
Okay. And sorry, I apologize for I'm at work, and so if you heard me talking over you, I'm really sorry. So I had the safety concern that I had wasn't about us getting approved to perform dry needling. It's the safety concern with the delay. So I tried to email and I didn't get any response back so I'm glad you guys brought it up. The safety concern is more about how currently what happens, you know, an OT is under our care, receiving treatment outpatient, under a doctor's order. And it gets to a point where we think that dry needling would benefit the patient. And it leaves us in two dilemmas. Either, you know, we don't say anything and we don't let the patient, you know, potentially get the benefits from the dry needling, which is not fair to them. Or, you know, we talk to the doctor and we're like, okay, I think the person needs dry needling. Okay, he writes the order for dry needling. Then you get a PT that, you know, they can't treat the patient because they're under your care, but they can go in and do an eval real quick. So you try and find one who maybe doesn't have a patient at the time and they do a quick eval. They do the dry needling and then they, you know, they'll leave because they have their own patients. And this happens every day in Louisiana in an outpatient setting with dry needling. And so I think that's my concern is like, you know, you know, because what happens is the PT will come over, dry needle the patient, and then leave that patient in the care of the OT who's not trained under dry needling. So, you know, it's a modality that's very simple. There's no scary side effects and all that. But it's not fair to continue the way it's going, which is the OT is left to care for the patient after dry needling when we are not even trained in it. So my email was about the urgency of letting us be able to perform this modality because right now it's not safe for the patient to continue what's happening, if that makes sense. So having that said, the OTs, once we're trained, there's no issues. There's no duplication of services. The patient isn't going to get a bill for an OT eval and a PT eval. Like it will just be simplified. It's no different than doing, you know, any other modality, ultrasound, and it's under our plan of care. It will be simplified and there's no concerns. But yeah, that's, I just, you know, because I work in outpatient and I see this every day and I just, you know, I did the dry needling course this weekend and I have even a better understanding of, you know, like what should happen and what shouldn't happen. And it's unfortunate that the PTs are dry needling the OT patients. So.
We definitely, I know I hear y'all's urgency, and this has been going on for a long time. We totally
Right.
understand. I feel like the first presentation by Randall Alfred was probably 3 years ago. And we still don't have this passed. In terms of time frame, I guess it almost really leads into our next agenda item, which was to get an update from Patricia Wilton on our rules changes and where we are with the edits and moving those forward, because the rules changes regarding dry needling have been written, and they have been approved by OTAC, and they have been handed over to the LSBME legal team for review. And
so do you want me to combine that one and tell you what the situation is at the moment?
sure.
Okay, so I worked my very, very hardest that I could to try and have everything finalized for this meeting. Unfortunately, we just got a few curveballs thrown at us, and the time frame between the last meeting and this one was It's a little too short, but very close to being finished. You'll have it for the next meeting, and that should be in line in time to get it approved, and then the next, have the notice of intent and everything for the next publication date.
So but our next OTAC meeting is on April 12th. So you feel like you'll have the edits definitely done by then.
Yes, you'll have them, and I'll give them to you so that you can circulate them ahead of time so everyone can look at them. You will
Okay.
have them. Y'all can vote, and if you approve them on the 12th, it can go to the board for the April meeting, and then we can start the promulgation process immediately thereafter.
Great.
I'm happy that you mail them around, but please remember not to be calling each other to discuss, because we don't want you all to be accused of a rolling quorum.
That's always a good reminder, Dr. Van, when we do get them. It's just for us individually to look over it for what we each individually feel like is accuracy. And then when we come together in a meeting, anything that any of us finds, we'll hash through.
I have a quick question. So April 12th is our meeting. If we approve it, then what is the date to go forward after that?
The next
The
step,
April meeting, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Van.
I apologize, Ms. Patricia. The next, it would go to the following board meeting. If they approve it, then it starts the rule-making process with promulgation. We have to get the fiscal and economic impact statements in, and then all of the rulemaking process starts. And with a good tailwind, we might be able to get it operational in 6 months, but it's going to take a good tailwind. And when you start something during the session, it's a little bit slower to get moving, but we're going to keep it moving as much as we can.
Dr. Van, do any of y'all have the April LSBME meeting date handy?
I can get it for you in 2 seconds. Give me a minute.
It's April 22nd.
Thank you.
I just realized I was on mute. Okay, April 22nd. So that would be a great goal for us to get the rules onto the LSBME April 22nd meeting agenda. But unfortunately, Marie, I don't think we can move it any faster than that. At this point, it wouldn't speed things up to pull out the dry needling regulation from everything else, especially because Ms. Wilton is nearly done with all of the edits. So it's I don't think it's going to speed it up to pull it out, and we will hopefully be able to vote to approve them on April 12th, meaning OTAC, and then get them onto the April 22nd LSBME meeting agenda
So with all the courses that are, there's another dry needling course for OTs this weekend, and they're just coming. What is the advisement for OTs since they're, putting these courses out? I know no matter how much you tell people, there's still going to be people out there that think they can perform it because AOTA approved it. I guess what is.
They're not allowed to use it yet, but I encourage everyone to always do continuing education. And we are hopeful, that in the next 6 or so months that they'll be able to use what they learned.
Because it costs, $1,000. And, if you can't practice it right away, I'm just wondering if I should just tell people, it's probably not best to, probably get those courses done right now. If it's gonna take 6 months or more, at the earliest, just trying to watch out for OTs as well. I think that everybody was trying to take these courses thinking it would be approved in spring, thinking, because like I said, it's best for the patients if the OTs are the ones supervising the patients that are getting dry needling if they're under their care. So if that's not going to happen and there's no way to expedite that, then I think I just may advise the OTs maybe not to do those courses right now, because like I said, they're very expensive. $700, $800, $1,200, and if you can't use it, that modality, you're going to lose it, and it's kind of a waste.
That probably sounds logical. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
there's just a lot of layers to changing the rules besides OTAC creating them, voting on them, LSBME voting on them, and then they have to go to a legislative level.
Mhm.
So, and an open, Dr. Van, isn't there an open period where they have to be made public for people to comment on?
Yes, ma'am. Just to review the process in a brief set of steps. The board approves it. We then present it for the fiscal and economic impact statement. Notice the publication, the first publication. From the date of the notice of the first publication, we have 35 days for comment. We'll have a hearing for comments. Comments can come in by personal appearance. They can come in by email or anything else. Then after that hearing, it goes to the Attorney General's office to make sure that they have any antitrust implications in it. And once it gets back from the antitrust implications, any changes that need to be made to the rules, either on the recommendation of the board, from the public comment, or from the AG's office, would then get incorporated. It would then be re-noticed. And at that point, anybody wants to have a oversight hearing can appeal for an oversight hearing, and I think they have 30 to 35 days for our two oversight committee to have their hearing. And then once that's passed, or if there's no oversight hearing or it's approved at oversight, it then goes to the governor's office for final action. So it is a process that the state sets up for all rulemaking. It's not anything we can, bypass. And the board has been very strict in its rules and its direction to us since 2018 that we don't allow implementation of the rules until it's completed the process. So
Okay.
Ms. Wilton, if I forgot to say anything, please jump in and correct me.
No, that
No,
helps.
you covered everything. Sorry.
That helps. That will be better than, I think no one really knew. And like when AOTA approved it a year ago, we were thinking, okay, about a year, but I don't know really where that number came from. So this does help, and I'll just pass that information along. 6 months at the earliest, but maybe even longer. So,
Thank you, Marie.
yeah, thank you.
Any other public comment on this issue?
There is no public comment at this time, ma'am.
Okay. All right, well, we will be going on to our next agenda item. Marie and Jennifer, obviously, you're welcome to stay. It's a public meeting, or if you want to leave, thank you for attending very much. Thank you for taking your time to be here.
Thank you.
Well, our next item we already covered because it was getting an update from Patricia Wilton about the potential timeframe. So does anybody have any other comments on OTAC or the public about the update that Patricia already gave us regarding the timeframe for the rules edits? All right. If not,
And there's no
then
public comment.
okay, no public comment. Great. Then we will move on to our next agenda item, which I did want to follow up with, the licensure suggestions that we talked about, last week for the website. And, Dr. Van, I might ask you to stop sharing just so that I can share the screen with the actual website and we can all sort of be on the same page about what we're talking about.
And I would just, before you start, Miss Susie, our education director and website assurer, to keep it up to current, has met with Miss Kelly, and she is looking into all of the suggestions that Kelly has made. And
Okay.
once we flush all of those out, we will be changing the website, because that's the easy part. We don't know that there's going to be any changes in the other part and in the licensing itself. But just so you know, we're in the process of working based upon Ms. Kelly's suggestions to correct everything on the website. But you can show anybody anything you like, obviously.
What is Susie's name? I didn't catch that.
Her name is Susan Allen, and she's the Director of Education and Research for the board, and she handles these kinds of administrative corrections to the, and also she will be updating your rules, and she will put them on when they come to the website, along with Miss Tracy, who will handle that. And also, she will be updating the course once the rules are passed. This is the kind of stuff that she does, and she's going to be unifying the instructions and all of the things you need to do to get a license.
Are you guys seeing the LSBME homepage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the apply for new license, then the occupational therapy, and then applications and instructions. And this is basically the page where we were requesting that the fact that the applicant would need to provide transcripts is not listed in the list of items that have to be completed. And that was what we were asking be added to this page. And it sounds like what you're saying is that Susie and Tracy are working together to address each of the items.
Not only that, but they're working with Miss Kelly. But I will also tell you, behind the scenes, this is evolving, I think, faster than and much faster than I hoped it would, and I'm very glad about that. Is we're going to be bringing on a service called Parchment. And what Parchment will do is, if we get it set up right, basically, whatever our cost is, it'll be added to the licensing. You'll have a separate charge for the recoupment of just like you pay for the credit card use, you'll pay for that authorization. And what will happen is it will expedite us getting those without a lot of work on the part of the licensee. So even if we change this today, it's going to change when we bring Parchment online. And I'm hoping that that's going to be much faster than anybody anticipated. So it's an ever-evolving source of work for us to continue to refine and update the processes. And so sometimes, yes, I apologize that it doesn't have everything, but I think one of the things that has happened is most of the information and instructions are given at the time the application is made, and they get emails saying what they're supposed to get. So I think sometimes, yes, this is behind the times and we'll correct it. But right now, if you enter a portal as a new applicant, when you put in the process, when you complete the application, you not only see instructions at the beginning, but at the end of the process, when you pay for the license application fee, it's charged to your credit card, and you get charged for the credit card fee. And then you get a series of instructions. Our timeline is within 10 working days. They will get a series of instructions emailed to the email address that they place in the portal as the preferred email address. And our licensing analyst will say everything that they need to have at that time. So again, perhaps we did not update this in line with the way we've updated the application process, and we will get that up to date, but then it's going to, I want to let you know it's going to change in the future again.
Okay, let me just ask a question about the Parchment. Will that be almost like a portal where the applicants will be able to upload things, and that would mean they will not have to actually mail it through the postal service? Is that the idea?
We are in the process of negotiating. We have meetings, possibly even today, or certainly next week, that are going to determine what we are trying to do with parchment is the following. Basically, when you sign off electronically on the application, you will be giving us the authorization to request it, and we will get that request out automatically to the school that you list, and then we will pull it in so that it's almost seamless for the applicant.
Okay.
Again, let me say that maybe you can appreciate what I'm trying to do if I give you the following unattainable goal of perfection would be, if we can get all of this data done, I'd like to get it done all automated electronically so that we could have one-day licensing. I know that's unattainable, but it's a goal we can all strive for. And so the shortest time we are looking to bring it as the shortest time possible.
Right, yeah.
again-
Well, anything that could help us avoid having to use the US Postal Service would be an improvement, I think.
Well, and we are working on that. One of the things that we're trying to do is, you get the instructions when for example, you get the instructions on how to do the background check when you apply, okay? Again, it's really, the background check is really streamlined. We are now 5 to 7 working days. It has just moved so expeditiously. And we continue to refine the processes, and I meet monthly with my licensing people, and Ms. Johnson will tell you, we go over not only yours, but everybody's licensing situation. We look for ways to make it better. I'm always looking for ways to get less data entry on the part of my licensing experts and analysts so that they can do analyst work and get these licenses processed. But Kelly has pointed out some very important stuff to us. We're working to correct that, but I want you to understand that it's a constantly changing issue, and maybe we did miss the ball on getting this done on the webpage. But in terms of the application, it is everything you're supposed to get is from the application and from our computer telling the licensee what to provide.
Okay. Great.
Thank you for y'all efficiency.
Yeah, I'll say that it was very productive to meet with her, and we talked about several things, so she's working on it as far as at least adding the transcript to the website, and she's gonna check on a few other things just to make sure that it's consistent across the dashboard and then the website, but like Dr. Mann said, it'll eventually change, but in the meantime, hopefully it'll be a lot easier.
Thank you for taking that on, Kelly.
Yeah, I appreciate I appreciate them calling me and getting on it. So it'll be good.
All right. Is there any other comment or public comment about that agenda item regarding the licensure suggestions for the website? Any public comment, Dr. Van?
No, ma'am, there is no public comment at this time.
Okay. All right, well, that brings us to our next agenda item, which Dr. Van, I would appreciate if you could give us an update on the status of the interstate licensure compact and where we are with that.
Well, the last meeting I attended, they are putting out for bids an RFP for bid process on a database system. They're going to share the database system with a couple of other mid-level providers, paraprofessionals, if you will, whatever you want to call them, and so that they will share that. I have been very strongly urging them to use a large enough database system that it can grow and scale without changing and restarting. And that was one of the growing pains that the IMLCC had. I don't think anybody anticipated it would get as large as it did. And so they've had to upgrade and change platforms a couple of times. And we're urging them to get a platform that's maybe a little bit more expensive in the front end, but will do the job as it grows for several of these licensing groups that are sharing. The difficulty that they're trying to go around is, will everybody have the same data points, or will they be different data points? That's still in process. And I think they're, at this point, I'm thinking they're about maybe 20 months away, but before it gets active. I don't know that I think we're lacking one state, or maybe one state just recently joined, and that would give us enough to get them going, but operationally, they're not ready.
So currently, no state is actively doing an interstate compact license for OT.
Okay, the state laws have passed in many states, but there's no operational compact system to support the state laws in all of the states that pass it. That is the process that they're undergoing now to get a system. So, for example, again, one of the things I'm urging them is for those of us like Ohio and Louisiana, Florida, Texas, that is deeply invested in data processing, data interchange, have these data fields set so that we can start designing the application program interfaces or APIs that allow that stuff to just move across transparently to everybody. And our data analysts, it pops up in the file when we get it going. We don't have to wait for anything. The biggest slowdown and problem that they are currently encountering is while Louisiana was historically slow, we are now one of the faster states for fingerprinting and criminal background checks. Other states are still slow. Other states are still on paper. And the other thing that's happening is we're finding that some states do not do criminal background checks. And so the issues have to be addressed is right now, for example, the way I envision it happening in Louisiana is if a Louisiana occupational therapist wants to be join the compact, we would start with the initial processing. They would first apply to the compact. The compact would tell us what we need to do. Compact collects the money. They send us the money. We provide the appropriate data points and the criminal background check. So one of the things you will note as this goes along, if there's no change, they do want to do the criminal background checks for the IMLCC. I mean, so they will like the IMLCC will do it for the OTCC. So the problem we have to settle on is what do we do with states that don't have criminal background checks? And that's
Dr.
kind of stuff that's being settled now.
I thought that the OT compact was written in such a way that it was going to be a requirement, and that if a state didn't want to require a criminal background check, that they just couldn't join the compact.
Well, that's the problem. States are passing laws without working with their licensing people, and the licensing people are having to jump through hoops that they didn't plan on. For example, one of the states had passed a law, but the licensing agency for that state never did criminal background checks. So now they're in the process of setting it up. Everybody's going to have to do it, but some of the states that have passed the law can't do it right now. So all of these things are in flux, and I think they're being resolved as rapidly as anybody can resolve them.
Okay. Wow. All right. I guess on the compact end, it's not as organized as I had assumed. And I didn't even realize that some states would join without having already had fingerprinting and background checks in place. So that's
Again,
wrinkles for sure.
The way these are done, so you'll know, is the big overriding compact lobbying group gets laws passed by state legislators, and nobody really talks to the licensing board except to say, this is now for you, and now they have to adapt to it. And we're fortunate enough that we have somebody from our board who is helping them see how it works better, because they were just, they were going to try and just get it done with a few points and not a big database, and they didn't realize it could grow. And when they looked at the IMLCC growth problems, I mean, it's conceivable. I mean, I will just tell you, in the first 2 years of the IMLCC, we had 2,000 new physicians licensed in Louisiana. And while you don't think that's a lot, when you average about 3,500 new licenses a year, and you now go up an additional 1,000 those last 2 years, 45 licenses. Ms. Salome and the licensing people are working very hard to handle that. And so it's going to add a little workload, but that's why I want to automate it as much as I can so it moves smoothly for everybody.
Dr. Van, I just need to interrupt real quick because I got an email from Kathleen Norcross, and she got kicked out of the meeting, and now it's saying that somebody has to let her back in.
Coming in.
She's coming in, apparently.
Thank you. All right, so thank you, Dr. Van, for that update. I guess, like everything, it's not as close as we had assumed, to being active for our state or any other. Does anybody else have any, on OTAC, have any questions, for Dr. Van about the compact? Was there any public comment about this agenda item, Dr. Van?
There is no public comment at this time.
Okay. Well, other than stating our next meeting, we don't have anything else on our agenda. This was a record short meeting. I can't believe we're done in less than an hour. So our next meeting will be Friday, April 12th, 2024 at 10 o'clock a.m. Again by Zoom virtual video. And if there's no other issues, then thank you all for coming.
Ms. Ingrid,
And
may I make a quick comment?
of course,
When you send out the rules, when Ms. Wilton finishes with them, if anybody has a comment, please feel free to mail it to me, and Ms. Wilton and I will try and correct those issues, because what I don't want to do is have to go through a big process at the meeting of setting up a new set of instructions to correct and then having to have you approve them again, because it's going to delay us another month, and I don't want that to happen to you.
I hear you. Great. Okay, very good. So when we do get the edited rules from Ms. Wilton and we each individually look over them, if you see anything, please send those edits back to Dr. Van and Ms. Wilton right away, so that they can be addressed ahead of the meeting. Great. I like that. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned at 10:44 a.m. and I hope everybody has a great rest of the day and a great weekend, and stay dry today.
Well, thanks to all who
Thank you.
participated. We appreciate all the work you do to keep us on the straight and narrow.
Thanks, everybody.